Music Mart. Then we got a couple open spots, like I said, and I say every week until we fill them. If you got something cool you like to talk about, or you like the jams that, you think might be unique, because we don't want no top 40 losers in here. Just kidding. Kinda. But again, variety is what we do, and we do it well here at 95.9. So if you think you got it, you got the smooth, silky voice like your boy, because again, I got an unquestionable honey tone that I just can't get rid of. I don't want to get rid of it, and I don't think you guys do either. Black Ring Ritual then wraps up Thursday. Friday, we kick off with a whole nother round of variety, and so you'll want to stick around for that. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson again every Thursday here, and a beautiful day here in Fargo, Moorhead. It's like 70-something, light breeze. Ain't no worries. Ain't no worries at all. But again, we talk about cannabis legalization, the benefits of cannabis. This show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook, blackcottagealchemy.com, or downtown here, Tochi Products. My homie Joe has got all the stuff from Black Cottage that you could possibly need. Get in there and take care of that. Thank you, Black Cottage Alchemy, for sponsoring this show. Canna-Talk ND on Instagram. We'll tell you when this minus the music on YouTube shows up. However, I've been kind of slack-a-slacking on it, because I kind of would prefer that you either use the podcast platforms or listening to the archives on radiofreefargo.org that comes with the music, and it's just a better product. And if you can't catch it right now, because we're in a hot seat, we're going to do it. 420, we're going to open a big fat bag of cannabis news. We got a lot of stuff in the news. We got some crazy kind of like tomfoolery that's happening in Arkansas. They're trying to, just keep it from happening, despite the trend that we all know it's heading in. We'll talk about Brittney Griner a little bit more, because that's a story that keeps pushing, and she was sentenced today, it ain't good, so we'll talk about it. But again, this might be the catalyst that, gets a little more sanity when it comes to North Dakota and the United States when it comes to the just ridiculousness of incarcerating for a plant. And then the glaring, blatant hypocrisy if you have status or you happen to be in a state that's almost similar to the long drop hanging state of Singapore. So again, maybe this will get us ahead. It looks like we're moving backwards. I ain't going to lie, and I don't have to lie. Most of you will agree with me. Again, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every Thursday, I pop in here via osmosis or electric bike, through the door, through the window. However I get in here. We fire up the old radio station machine to give you information about cannabis legalization and the benefits of cannabis. We're still waiting to hear. I think we've got it's like 35 days. I think we got like a week or so before the Secretary of State needs to tell us whether or not the signatures we submitted for New Approach North Dakota, I think it was like 10 or 15,000 in surplus. So, I mean, the chances are almost guaranteed. However, if you want and you listen to me, you look at Arkansas, you look at Missouri, there's still things that can happen, and they're questioning it. It's like, well, we looked at these signatures really hard, and now all of a sudden you're finding something wrong with them. Again, it's like their word against yours. You don't get to go back and look. You don't, and if they're, whatever the word is, if they're changing things, like you used to do as a kid, you change that F and do an E, B and do an A. I don't know. I can't spell or anything, I'm just trying to get to heaven. I believe cannabis was created by the man himself, God upstairs, who I worship every Sunday, 10 and 11 a.m. at Antioch Church on Main, in between 4th Street and Broadway. It's the only thing happening on that side of the avenue. Yeah, it's the only thing happening on that side of the avenue. We're butted up against the train tracks, and if you sit perfectly, you get to look out the window and watch the trains go by. I mean, it's great. I mean, the pastor would probably prefer that you were listening, but hey, you know what I'm saying? It ain't easy being greasy, and greasy is what I beasy. So you guys just stay tuned here. We got tunes, and we're going to talk about cannabis legalization. I believe I could probably play a little music right now. Let's see if I covered all my bases. Let's read a underwriter. Programming on KRFF 95.9 is being underwritten by Discontent Fargo. Discontent Fargo is your high-class counterculture lifestyle store. Discontent is your destination for the smoke and vape culture, providing a dense selection of artist-based handcraft, glassworks, vapor products, and lifestyle apparel. Discontent Fargo is located at 512 Broadway, downtown Fargo, open 10 to 9, Monday through Saturday, and noon to 7 p.m. on Sundays. For more information, check out Discontent Fargo on Facebook and their Instagram at Discontent Stores. Again, Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9 has a a benefit coming up here on the 20th of August. That's a Saturday at 8. Man, I can't read. 9:30 at the Aqua, the Fishbowl, a.k.a. the Aquarium, a.k.a. above Dempsey's downtown Fargo, right opposite the place that rhymes with Schmasper Schmo Schmel, because they're not an underwriter. I ain't going to give them push. You see what I'm saying? But hey, if you're a part of Schmasper Schmotel and you want us to kick down a little, a little promo for y'all, you go ahead and do what you do. RadioFreeFargo.org, and then put a little message in, and we will get with you. And speaking of which, shout out Mike, the colorful character, one of the best dressers that I know at Block 9, for listening to this show and supporting this radio station. It's nice to hear the people are listening to you randomly. So shout out to you, sir, for listening to the best radio station in the world as far as I'm concerned. Again, the Devil Girl out of Minneapolis, Jameen, which is Jameen, which I'm thinking is kind of like a play on, you know what I mean? Know what I'm saying? Jameen, Lauren Leslie. Again, that's August 20th. The Fishbowl, a.k.a. the Aquarium, a.k.a. Dempsey's, Saturday, 9:30 p.m. That's a benefit for us, KRFF 95.9. So show your support. I mean, if you don't even like listening to it, don't worry about it. Go upstairs, put some money in the basket. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody going to care if you don't listen to Jameen. Or maybe Jameen might. But take that up with her. We just want the cash. All right? So, 420, stick around for that. We're going to open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and I'm excited to tell you that we have new Lyle Lovett. You're like, what? Lyle Lovett? That's right. Pig Meat Man, 95.9. I don't mind singing that. I'm a pig meat man. I believe he's singing about bacon. Bless Lyle Lovett's heart. That's a brand new album from that character. And I'm not a huge country fan, or am I a major Lyle Lovett fan? However, I mean, this guy, I'm not saying he's got a face only a mother can love. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's got like a Mick Jagger train wreck looking face. I ain't saying that. I'm not saying I'm like 20 times more handsome than Lyle Lovett. I ain't saying that either. But you got to respect a guy that can snag, what's her name? Cindy Crawford. You know what I mean? Now, people will probably say, well, it's his money and his, his rod. I don't know if I can say that, but, that I don't say it. People do. When you got a face only a mother can love. However, this particular album has got some stink on it. I mean, and in this particular case, bacon fat stink, which, let's just give Pig Meat Man a hand. But anyway, that was Lyle Lovett, Pig Meat Man. I almost played nothing but Lyle Lovett today, but, it changed my mind. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. Scurry in here. 420, open a big fat bag of cannabis news. That's on deck, so hang out for that. I'll intersperse a few more tunes. I just wanted to mention that our sponsor, Black Cottage Alchemy, kicks out this body butter that's made with kosher full-spectrum CBD, North Dakota-grown hemp, 1,600 mgs of CBD, mango butter, and all that stuff. It's good for neuropathy, pain, inflammation, chemo, burns, tattoo aftercare, boils, stretch marks, and it's just good to put on your pancakes. I'm just kidding. Maybe not. Who knows? Again, right before me was Side Stage with Trav. Right after me is Stinky Arts Music Bart. He isn't always here, but I can assure you by the pungent, I haven't showered in a while, smell wafting through the poorly closed door here at the studios in beautiful downtown Fargo, that he is on his way. So, you'll want to get ready for that. Maybe take a shower. Somebody needs to. But after me, Stinky Arts Music Mart. We got a couple open slots. It might very well be you if you're looking to do some shows, music or talking. However, I would prefer you did music because I don't need another talker talking over me after me. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Might go to work after this. So, you talk all you want. And I probably listen to myself afterwards just because I'm, self-absorbed guy. I'm like SpongeBob's cousin. Sponge Wilson. All right. Well, anyway, New Approach North Dakota. That is the organization working for you. We got the signatures done. They're waiting for the Secretary of State. 21 plus to possess. It's pretty bare bones, but it's still cool. It's got 3 plants you can have in it, and that's really exciting. I don't care who you are. That's exciting. And so barring any weird sort of Arkansas funnery, some sort of signature tomfoolery, all of a sudden we have 10, now we only got 8. How did that happen? I don't know. Too bad. Prove it. Until then, try again, sucker. That could easily happen. And depending on who you ask, will tell you how easy that could happen. I don't know. I'd like to be able to trust the people in charge of us. And that sounds horrible. I don't like anybody in charge of me. I follow God's rules, And I don't know, somewhere in there it says I'm supposed to follow the government, but in the same instance, some people had Stalin for their government. You know what I mean? Somebody had Hitler for their president. And if every Christian listened to them, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. The legalese around cannabis, and then say a Christian obligation to not do anything illegal, is pushing me to hope that we get this thing through. So, again, as we start this campaign, tell your brother, tell your mother, tell your sister, tell your cousin to get their yes signature on cannabis legalization in November. That's, again, hoping that our 10,000 surplus signatures gets us blessing to be on the ballot. But I'm pretty sure it will be, but we don't know. And but the days are getting closer. I was just checking because I'm like, I think last week I implied that, we might know soon. And I really was just talking out of my proverbial a-hole. And so I went back and kind of seen if I could come up with a more definitive answer. And it was 35 days, like 3 weeks ago. So we got like, you know what I'm saying? Like a week or so. So maybe 2 weeks from now, I'll know. Hopefully I'll just post it on my Instagram. That's Canna-Talk ND. So if you're not on that, maybe go get there. And anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson just messed up the time to play the song because it's almost 4:20. So I don't know what to do. So I think I'm just going to, I don't know what we're going to do. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3. What we got here? 1, 2, 3 minutes. We've got 4-minute song. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I do know what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the short song. Huh? So here's Stone Temple Pilots' Interstate Love Song. Canna-Talk ND on the other side of this. Well, yeehaw. My favorite song from the 90s, I think. Interstate Love Song, Stone Temple Pilots. It's time for Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. It's 4:20. So we're going to play this intro song here. And if you got a medical card, why don't you shuffle to the freezer, get yourself some of those frozen squares or circles. Put it in a cylinder thing, preferably glass. Get you a combustible combustor. And we'll see you on the other side of it.
Hey, it's Phil from Cannaheads. Like this episode? Hit that like button. And if you enjoy the show, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on cannabis news, local and national. Listen live on 95.9 in the Fargo, North Dakota region from 4 to 5 p.m. on Thursday. For our non-Fargo region friends, you can listen on your favorite podcast platform. Just search Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Now enjoy the show.
All right, we did it, people. We're here. And hello. Welcome to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every Thursday here at 4:20, we open a big fat bag of cannabis news. We talk about cannabis legalization, the benefits of cannabis. So before we go any further, I just want to make sure that if you're just tuning in, New Approach North Dakota did get plenty of signatures. In fact, 10,000 was the surplus. We're down to about a week or so before we find out if the Secretary of State has validated them, and then we can expect it to be on the ballot in November. And so you'll want to do your part. You'll want to get a sign. You'll want to dance. You'll want to sing. So we can get this thing handled. 3 plants you're going to be allowed, and that's exciting. Up to an ounce you're going to be able to have, and that's not as exciting. But, for somebody who, currently can't do that, that's exciting. All right. So let's see what we got. What's our first thing here? let's talk about this one. Is fun. Cannabis moment. Biden daughter-in-law reportedly shopped at a cannabis dispensary with Secret Service protection as president leaves cannabis prisoners behind bars. Now, I don't know. This was written by Kyle Yeager. I don't know if he was responsible for the title. But as frustration mounts over unfulfilled promises to reform federal laws, a controversial report has emerged about P.J. Biden's daughter-in-law allegedly receiving protection as she shopped at a cannabis dispensary. Now, again, we don't know what she's buying in there, but Biden's son, who's married to Biden's son, was spotted leaving a Malibu dispensary called 99 High Tide with a small unidentified purchase. So cannabis is legal for adult use in California. It remains federally illegal, which, I mean, how can a Secret Service, who seems to be a federal agent, I don't know. And I don't want to say, what's fine for me and not for thee or whatever lame thing is, like the baby bathwater stupid sayings. I wish we never said that again. But again, it'll happen again, and I'll read it probably before I go to bed. Some sort of create some sort of manipulation of the English language to where whatever you're saying makes sense to go throw out the baby with the bathwater. Stop saying that. Don't say it anymore. I won't say it anymore. Okay? I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, Biden had... So the controversy isn't so much about Cohen reportedly patronizing the shop. Rather, it's about the apparent use of a federally funded Secret Service detail to protect the transaction at a time when Biden has failed to fulfill his campaign pledges to decrim cannabis and free people. Biden has said that he doesn't believe people should be incarcerated over cannabis, and he's expressed support, but of course he ain't done nothing. The president did grant clemency to 78 people, including those with nonviolent federal drug convictions. To that end, the optics of a presidential relative reportedly getting Secret Service protection while appearing to engage in an activity that remains federally prohibited and for which the president is allowing people to remain in prison despite campaign promises to the contrary raises questions. However, it is important to note that while Daily Mail reported that the person in plain clothes is a Secret Service agent, they haven't been able to independently confirm that. It's also possible that it could have been non-cannabis items or federally legal hemp items. Now, I just believe that's them giving them an out. And if you're not prone to honesty, which I tend to subscribe to the Honesty newsletter, you could just say, yes, that was a federally legal hemp item. It's already gone. You can't prove it. You lie, So, will they lie? I don't know. It's like, will you believe them when they say, well, yeah, they go into a dispensary full of federally illicit products to buy what? Some federally legal, lip balm that you can get at a small schmeens or a DBS? You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but it is, I don't know. I don't love it. It allows for criticism by me. And there just seems to be a lot of it. And now it's blatant. So to me, this just kind of helps the cause. It really does. Same with this whole Brittney Griner thing, because the blatant hypocrisy is just going to, create this cacophony, the swell of discontent, this how dare you do this and you make this guy do that. And we'll talk about the other people that have been punished in Russia, and we'll get there. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. That's what you're listening to now. Ask us anything about Minnesota's new THC edibles law. This is NPR News with Angela Davis. It's kind of like a dictation of an audible, which we won't listen to. But there are some things we can discuss. As of July 1st, edibles containing small amounts of hemp-derived THC, and that's what I have a problem with, in a sense. I don't have a problem, of course. Under the law, I think it's awesome. Minnesotans can buy food and beverages that contain up to 5 milligrams of THC with a limit of 50 mgs. How can you do that with a 0.03% allowed THC from hemp? You know what I mean? Like, I've never been able to figure that out. If legally you can only have a 0.003%, how can I buy 50 milligrams? I mean, what's the 0.03% relative to? The world? I mean, what huge thing are you comparing it to? I don't get it. So it's the biggest step Minnesota's taken towards legalizing cannabis recreationally, and it's awesome because it is like the most backdoor way to recreationally allow it, and you can do it now. We'll find out that people are sold out. I mean, it's not an unpopular thing, and I don't believe it's a popular thing because of all these junkies looking to get their fix. Like I said, big arguments I have. Like, I hired a couple dopers and they were bums. It's like, well, maybe you don't know how to do an interview process very well. You know what I mean? You couldn't sniff out the dumb bum before you hired them and signed the W-9 and all those things. That's what always trips me out. People put their best foot forward at the job interview. But in the same instance, you should come up with a way to regulate that a little better as an employer. To be able to because it's like, well, he seemed good, but he's a dope, dope huffing bum. Well, how do you know that? I mean, even lazy people can pretend to, can sound non-lazy to get somewhere first. Oh, I'm a hard worker. Saturdays, you bet I'll work them. Sundays, I'll live at your place. Oh, we do, 14-hour days? No problem. I'll do 24-hour days. And then it's time to work Monday morning. Where's your boy? He ain't there. He's tired. Well, what happened? You said you were going to work Saturdays and Sundays. You were going to live at the place. So I don't know what I'm talking about here, but NPR News host Angela Davis spoke with two lawyers who specialize in cannabis law about Minnesota's new law. So we got Jason is an attorney, and we got Jay from Boston. So it's a groundbreaking piece of legislation. All right, what exactly does this new law in Minnesota do, and what doesn't it do? For the first time ever in Minnesota, consumers can purchase THC-infused food and beverages. Now, of course, that THC needs to be hemp-derived, which makes us unique in the country, so we're not in a full adult use marijuana state, but we've taken a big step towards that. There are no restrictions on who can sell and where it can be sold. So what's the difference between hemp and cannabis? It's kind of confusing. Cannabis is sort of the catch-all term and can refer to both hemp and cannabis, which many people are surprised to learn is the same plant. So the distinction is a legal one. Okay, here we go. The federal law and regs and the state laws say hemp is defined as a plant or its derivatives containing 0.3% delta-9 or less. Anything over that threshold is considered cannabis. So that's the distinction, but it's the same plant, looks very much the same. And how can you get 50 MIGs and 10 MIGs? How can you get 10 MIGs out of that? There's probably some math, but I don't get it, And what kind of products are allowed under this new law? The thing that retailers were stocked for, since this was sort of a surprise to a lot of us, were gummies. So most people right now are going to be consuming gummies that they can buy in packages. There's no limit on how many bags you can buy. So that's kind of wild. The question was, have they kept in touch with the store owners? How are they doing 2 weeks out? They weren't stocked for the demand. They sold out. Retailers that this Trazic guy spoke to sold out in a matter of days. So they're scrambling now to try to get more product. He's trying to help them out in other states, There's a lot of pent-up demand among Minnesota consumers for this, and I think the politicians are going to take note of that. And again, they're going to. So we got a lot of things happening that's not directly, legalization, but they're influences. Stinking Biden's daughter-in-law sneaking into a shop with a Secret Service, that's going to help the legalization, I believe. Stinking this Russian debacle, I think, well, it's not the Russian debacle per se. It's the people back at home that's done similar stuff that get no love. And they get their monies taxed so they can provide, a beach home for stinking Governor Pricketts. So anyway, they're tamper-proof. You can't manufacture them. Can't be marketed to children. You can't call them like Fruit Loop gummies. All right, fine. Call them Under Armour gummies. You know what I'm saying? Call them Tree Branch gummies. Call them Hard-Working gummies. Or call them Over 21 gummies. I like it. Over 21 gummies. That's a great name, and any one of you guys can use it, but I would prefer a little money. So what stands out about this law compared to those in other states? The law is completely unique among all cannabis laws in the state. What happens in the states so far, what happens in pretty much every state that's legalized is the people of the state basically vote, and then they delegate authority. And then they're regulated by the state pretty closely. And then there's a long process. Finally, the stores open up, So this Minnesota approach is completely different. In Minnesota, there are no restrictions on who can sell and where it can be sold. For folks who are concerned about safety, should we be? I don't know exactly about how this works in practice, but there's a testing requirement. The THC has to be derived from certified hemp. So in Minnesota, we have a hemp program, and then at the point of sale, I just don't get it. So another question was, what about Delta 8? Does a consumer of THC in Minnesota have any guarantee that there's safety in this product? Delta 8, which is getting extremely popular because it sort of benefited from a loophole in both the federal law. So a lot of people said, and frankly, there are some courts that agree with them. Delta 8 was fully legal everywhere so long as it was hemp-derived, And you're correct that Delta 8 occurs in very tiny amounts. But interpreters saw an opportunity, and they were using a chemical process to extract it. So that's got to be what they're doing. So, again, they're going to mostly contain hemp-derived Delta 9, and I believe that you can buy Delta 9. The cost, I guess, is inexpensive, $20 or so for a bag. So, again, let's see. Well, that's just kind of a little more, If you're from Minnesota, you're welcome. Cookies CEO lands Forbes cover, first for cannabis industry executive. Berner is the first cannabis executive to grace the cover of Forbes magazine. He's dubbed as the $150 million cannabis king, and includes the quote from Berner: "It's hard to sell legal cannabis." So Berner said it's every entrepreneur's dream to make a cover of Forbes, but the reality is very few founders and CEOs of the largest companies in the world will actually get a chance to achieve that goal. So shout out to him. The story is about how the federal government continues to botch opportunities to legalize the cannabis industry and lift a $72 billion economy out of the shadows. So, what do we got now? So let's talk about this cannabis moment. Largest federal workers union calls for ending cannabis tests for most government employees in legal states. The nation's largest union representing Fed employees adopted a resolution and called for an end to policies that penalize federal workers. There's more than 700,000 federal workers across the country approved the resolution. So that's awesome. The union posted the title of the measure, "Resolution to Support Deleting Responsible Off-Duty Cannabis Usage from Suitability Criteria." Now that's got a nice ring to it. So anyway, shout out to the American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE, for getting it done. 23 new cannabis laws in place in South Dakota. This is from Kilo Land. There was 247 new laws taking effect on July 1st. 23 of them dealt with cannabis, and I'll just buzz off a few of these. It's the purpose of this law is to enact limits on how and where cannabis can be used, such as bans on use in correctional facilities and on public transportation. This law, SB 19, allows facilities such as health centers and others to restrict the use of cannabis by those living in or visiting them. Boo. An act to establish a maximum number of cannabis plants that may be cultivated. Now, this law outlines a legal defense for someone being prosecuted for crimes involving cannabis in the event that they meet the criteria. It also caps the number of plants a person can own to 2 flowering, 2 non-flowering. This other bill law offers protection to those working in and around the legal cannabis industry. This other law, SB 6, states that people cannot be discriminated against in access to education or housing solely due to their status. SB 7 states that custody and visitation rights cannot be denied to a person simply due to their status as a card holder. And that's cool, too. HB 1097 states that the insurers are not required to cover cannabis, property owners are not required to allow the use of cultivation, and government facilities are not required to allow the use of medical cannabis. So it sounds like they still suck, But anyway, cannabis moment. This is a fun one. Bipartisan dank cannabis research bill filed in Congress. It is definitely called dank. Now, I don't know if that was on purpose, but let me read you the name of it. The legislation from Representatives Scott Peters and Dave Joyce is titled the Developing and Nationalizing Key Cannabis Research Act, otherwise known as DANK Cannabis Research Act. So isn't that cool, huh? So anyway, other agenda items include research into the effects of cannabis on at-risk populations, which I don't know what that means, but good luck to them. Now, let's talk about, this is High Times. Another American caught with weed in Russia sentenced to 14 years in prison. Russia will lock up a citizen for 14 years in prison for half an ounce of dank. A U.S. citizen teacher and lecturer was slapped with 14 years of hard time in prison for a little bit of cannabis found in his luggage at an airport in Moscow, Russia. It's the latest move in a series of harsh sentences dished out on Americans in the country, including Brittney Griner. On August 14th, 2021, Mark Fogel, then 60, was arrested at Sheremetyevo Airport in Moscow when half an ounce of cannabis in various forms was discovered in his luggage. Fogel was approved by a doctor in the U.S. for medical cannabis for chronic pain following a series of serious surgeries. Now, I was in court in South Dakota for paraphernalia. I don't know, what was it, 4 years ago now? 3 years ago? And there was a dude that was there in court. Apparently he was sleeping with his dog in a car. I don't know, but they apprehended him. They found his, paraphernalia, and now he's caught up in South Dakota's stranglehold of a justice system. And he's like, I got a medical card, from North Dakota or wherever he was. And the judge goes, well, that very well may be, which maybe very well may validate the reason you have it. But here in South Dakota, player, we're going to bust you and we're going to make you pay. So that was horrible. The guy didn't have the money, Well, for argument's sake, we could say his dog had to starve because South Dakota needed their money for this medical card holder from another state be punished. So these blatant kind of hypocrisies when it is brought to the public eye. I mean, this is a stinking teacher, for crying out loud. Taking it for chronic pain following a series of serious surgeries, and he's in prison for 14 years. Make sense of that. Make sense of that. Now, I get the whole, you should have known better. I get the, you're flying to Russia. An idiot would stick something up their hind end. I mean, that's the way you smuggle it, right? Just kidding. I know better than that. Maybe. I've never tried. Maybe. Who's listening? But anyway, the Fogels had been teaching abroad in places including Russia for years. They were used to less security at that airport during previous flights. And as somebody who's, I'm here to change the law and not break the law, but in my lifetime, I've definitely used something that had less security. If I'm used to less security, that might be a vulnerability that I exploit to get my medicine to wherever. But if I got hemmed up, then I'd get hemmed up. And I have got hemmed up. Like I said, I got pulled over in South Dakota, moving my stinking daughter, who's a teacher, and completed some traffic violation that may or may not have been real. We still aren't sure. And I just took it. I had to. Well, what choice do you have? So it's like, so anyway, they were used to less security. Something went terribly wrong, and Fogel told his wife he packed 14 vape carts, which seems a little excessive for a teacher. I'm just kidding. Put some flour in a contact lens case, which how much can you get in a contact case? He thought he could get away with stashing some in his luggage for his trip back to Russia. Fogels were heading back to Moscow to celebrate Mark's 10th year of teaching the children of U.S. diplomats. Not a bad dude. Russian police discovered the cannabis. He immediately knew the country doesn't play games, especially when it's a U.S. citizen, and Fogel assumed he'd be looking at deportation or some other punishment. Fogel has already spent 11 months in various Russian detainment centers for his crime. But hearing the judge say 14 years was a crushing moment for Fogel and his family. There's a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach that Mark will be left behind, says James. It's terrifying. They hope that President Biden and First Lady Jill, who is also an educator, realize the importance and include Mark in addition to Brittney Griner and this Paul Whelan. Which Paul Whelan is kind of a bad dude. You can't help but make the connections to WNBA star, who is currently being detained, said there's a substantial proposal to free both Griner and another unjustly detained American. Fogel's family has hope that he might not have to sit in prison for 14 years. Fogel was fed things like bowls of gruel and dried apricots, depending on what Russian prison he was in. He says that what he wants in English, someone translates for him, one of his cellmates, and depending on how good their English is how accurate of a picture we get of what is happening. It's very convoluted, and it's incredibly worrisome because we can't really have an honest conversation. Everything goes through the censors. It's harrowing. But for Mark, he wasn't happy to hear Griner might be released before him. That hurt, Mark said. Teachers are at least as important as ballers. And let's go ahead and just read this again. But for Mark, he wasn't happy to hear Griner might be released before himself. Quote, that hurt, unquote. Mark Fogel wrote in a letter, quote, teachers are at least as important as ballers, unquote. And absolutely. So where are we? You know, and Michael McFowle here, he applauds Blinken and the State Department to bring home Griner and Whelan, even if it means handing over Victor Bout, which that sounds crazy. I just hope they include Mark Fogel in the deal. Bout is a real criminal. He's worth freeing 3 innocent Americans. You know what I'm saying? So that is nutty. So shout out to my boy. He's not my boy. I don't know. Mark Fogel. And I will keep you posted on that because and so let me see if I can get you a little more about. So advocates demand Biden take cannabis action after Brittney Griner sentenced to 9 years. So she gets 9 years. So a teacher and a basketball player, one gets 14, the other one gets 9. But again, I mean, I've railed against South Dakota. I've railed against Indiana, and Indiana still sucks. If you go traipsing through Indiana with just a wisp of some cannabis, you got some issues, playa. Now, if you're on meth, maybe you can do it with the cop outside of Casey's at some small town. You know, maybe you could, circle J each other. I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, some of these states in our reality, North Dakota wasn't a great state either. It still isn't, for that matter. I would imagine it's a little lessened. But now that I kind of follow a higher plan, I kind of listen to God, kind of let him dictate. My pastor seems to have some control over what I do as well as far as advice. This isn't an issue as much as it used to be, but there are a lot of people who justifiably use it for benefits that kind of just, now I liken it to speeding or seatbelts. There's a bunch of y'all who are against cannabis or doing something that's illegal, but will buy their youngsters booze. How many adults buy their kids, at graduation kegs, party balls? That's against the law, but it's kind of socially accepted. It's not a huge deal. You know what I'm saying? Speeding. I know many Christians who speed, and they just take the fine. So where's the crossover? It seems like it's all the same. If you take the risk and you commit a civil crime or, against that, then you just pay the man. So for me, if I choose to do something for the benefit of my psyche and my chi, and it's a fine that I'm risking, then if the Christian argument to speeding and seatbelts apply, for them to be able to speed and not wear seatbelts, I should be able to use something that's natural, that grows out of the ground, who I believe was put there by God to use for medicinal reasons. It's an herb. Then, until they legalize it, it's up to me to decide to do it anyway or not, without sort of feeling like, I'm a horrible person. But anyway, in a statement on Thursday, Joe said the Griner sentencing is one more reminder of what the world already knew. Russia is wrongfully detaining Brittney. But again, they're not. They're not. So no mention of that Paul guy, So anyway, Biden says it's unacceptable, and I call on Russia to release her immediately so she can be with her wife, loved ones, friends, and teammates. His administration will continue to work tirelessly and pursue every possible avenue to bring Brittney and Paul, who is serving a 16-year sentence over alleged espionage, which sounds horrible, home safely as soon as possible. They believe the athlete shouldn't have been on trial and was wrongfully detained, and I don't know about all that. But Martiza Perez says today's sentencing of Griner underscores the need for domestic cannabis reform. So, I mean, man, depending on what you think, I think this might help the states. I think so. But anyway, Elon Musk, he says it's hypocritical to free Brittney Griner, but not U.S. cannabis prisoners. He called out the hypocrisy. He goes, maybe free some people in jail for cannabis here too, Musk tweeted. He goes, people in the U.S. in jail for cannabis while the government trades a Russian war criminal to free a woman's basketball player in jail for cannabis. So, there we go. Even Elon Musk thinks it's crazy. So we're going to keep pushing. But your homework is Arkansas governor tells police to stand firm against cannabis legalization ballot initiatives that's heading to court. And again, that's the one that's kind of interesting. So you want to Google that and check it out. Do you know what I'm saying? This hour of programming on 95.9 Radio Free Fargo, KRFF LP, has been underwritten by Drummer's Journey. I'm a drummer. I'm actually rocking the skins this Sunday if you want to watch me fail. Drummer's Journey offers percussion instruments, hardware, electronics, accessories, and more. They have full service for drummers, including repair, custom building, and lessons. Drummer's Journey is located at Highway 10 East Mall in Moorhead, Minnesota. Their hours are Monday through Thursday, 11 to 7. Fridays and Saturdays, 11 to 5. Sundays, noon to 5. For more info, check drummersjourney.com. They have a profile on Facebook. Well, good for Drummer's Journey. They have a profile on Facebook. Now, let's get to this. The Horses and the Hounds, James McMurtry. Here you go, 95.9. Now, that was a tasty little number by James McMurtry. If you haven't listened to him, he's got a great catalog of music. The Horses and the Hounds. That was awesome. KRFF 95.9 LPFM, RadioFreeFargo.org, streaming wherever you are. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson is wrapping up, and I thank you for checking me out. Right before me, Side Stage with Trav. Right after me, and boy, is it stinky in here. It's super stinky, which means we've got Stinky Arts Music Mart in mere minutes, so stick around for that. Black Ring Ritual wraps up your Thursday. This show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook, blackcottagealchemy.com. The body butter is something you need in, well, wherever. You know, in a medicine cabinet, strap it to your armpit, nobody cares. Get some. Tochi Products has all the stuff you could possibly need down there, too. And give them a shout-out for supporting Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, Black Cottage Alchemy. Now, I'm out of here, and we'll see you next Thursday. Educate yourself on the benefits of cannabis so you can educate others on said benefits. Here's David Allen, Judgment Day. Peace.